Fight something on the Miabu. Fight some things they fight. Fight something off the Yahoo. Fight some things they fight. Welcome back, it's Mitchell, your new metal voice coach, because today we're taking a look at Freak on a Leash by the band Korn. Jonathan Davis is the lead singer of Korn, and he does some pretty cool stuff with his voice. We've had a lot of time to unpack this over the years, but when this song came out, it was pretty groundbreaking. He's using a lot of different percussive elements, he's using a lot of different distortion elements, and we're gonna go over all of it. We're gonna talk about the tone, the way he sings, we're gonna talk about the registration, and we're also going to talk about the distortion, the most exciting part of this song. So let's dive in. We're gonna take a look at the isolated vocal first so we can hear all the effects that are going on.
Something takes a part of me.
You can hear a little bit of the track, but that's okay.
Something lost and never seen. Every time I start to believe.
Okay, there's a little bit of reverb. Obviously, there's compression in post that's gonna make the peaks and valleys of the sound a little bit more consistent.
Something's raped and taken from me, from me.
That being said, there's not a ton of other effects right now.
Life's gotta always be messing with me.
I lied.
Chill and let me be free.
It sounds like one of those little rods that goes. That's a pretty cool effect. It's not like a Doppler. It could be like something flanger or something. It could be a ton of different things. I'm actually not sure how this effect is made, but it does create this otherworldly sound. It sounds very metallic. It has a little bit of like a clanging sound to it. Listen to that again.
I take away all this pain. I try to every.
There's also like a da-na-na, almost like you're singing it through a fan. I forget what that effect is called, but that's also a really cool thing.
Night all in vain, in vain.
Also too, like Jonathan's voice so far is very like has a lot of like this breathiness to it, but the breathiness is at the end of the phrase.
Sometimes I cannot take this place.
Okay, and we know that this is an effect because he's singing, sometimes I cannot take this place. It's nice and dry. It's not all like that, kind of like it was in the Deftones video. So this is a really good example of somebody very intuitively creating cool effects with their voice just for the sake of the art, right? Like, Jonathan knows he can sing better than this, but he's choosing not to sing like that. He's choosing to sing in an unstable way, and that gives the music an unstable categorization. So think about how much time and effort you're spending on trying to sound good, and then remember that maybe not every moment is the right moment to sound good. There are moments to let your voice sound pretty bad by a lot of people's standards. I mean, I think this sounds cool, but there are a lot of people that would hear this isolated vocal and be like, yeah, that's crap. So dare to be different, dare to be weird, and dare to let your vocal technique disappear a little bit. Now, I did look into a little bit. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know Jonathan, and I don't know his career, but a Google search told me that he did have a little bit of training going into this album. So prior to this album, he had no training, according to the internet, but now it seems like he's had a little bit of training.
Sometimes it's my life I can't taste. Sometimes I cannot feel my face.
We have a nice
You'll never
bright
see
sound
me fall from grace.
and a little bit of breathiness.
Something.
A little bit of that breathiness suggests that he's singing in a very relaxed way. I am curious to see whether he's singing in a relaxed way in the live version or not. Let's take a look.
Takes a part of me.
You know, he looks pretty relaxed. Something takes a part of me.
Something lost and never seen.
Look at his body.
Start to believe.
He's just kind of letting it flow through him. It seems like he's singing a little bit lazy, and I'm not saying lazy in a bad way. I'm actually saying lazy in an efficient way. He's just kinda getting the words out, letting it be a little unorganized. I think it sounds really cool.
From me, life's gonna always be messing with me.
Gosh, all those people in this video are old now. This video is from 1999, so 27 years later. What a time to be alive.
Let me be free. Can't I take away all this pain?
Yeah, he has this nice, he's in this nice forward moment, and then he goes, So this could be a couple things. He could just be choosing to do this, right? A lot of artists just make a choice, and it sets their sound apart.
Life goes on and 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 on.
He could be making the choice to let his voice be a little lazy here and a little breathy, or this could just be how he sings. Remember, a lot of the artists, especially in this time period, did not have access to training. They did not have access to everything we know about distortion. So the sounds they're making just came from a lot of trial and error, and it was the best they can come up with. I think this is incredible. To be able to just be able to sing like this without any training is pretty impressive to me. To be able to do the distortion that he does without any training is also really impressive to me. So instead of trying to put these people on a pedestal for their vocal technique, let's put them on a pedestal for their ability to stay true to who they are and the kind of art that they want to make. Mouth is opening a lot there. Never seen it far from grace. He has this like, he's forward, na 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 na. Reminds me a lot of the breathy to buzzy exercise that we are totally gonna do in a minute. But he has this like relaxed, kind of sultry sound, and then a nice focus sound that reminds me a little bit of Skeletor.
I can't remember when I've had a more pleasant day.
Okay, let's play around with this breathy to buzzy because it's not a practice session without a warm-up, and I have talked about this before. This is one of my favorite warm-ups to do. We're gonna go from a breathy sound to a buzzy sound. This is gonna give you a lot of range of motion in terms of creative control of your voice, but it's also just gonna get all of the nooks and crannies warmed up. So, as always, let's start on a fa. Starting on a note that's comfortable for you, I'm on this F3. Fa. Breathy to buzzy, and don't forget to take a breath before each time, and because we are letting a lot of air gush out and we don't want to run out. Fa. Now I'm not actually getting any louder when I do this. It just sounds louder because my sound is unfocused and then it's focused. If this is hard for you, you can do it the other way around. Like, let's do buzzy to breathy to buzzy. Fa. And try not to go fa. Try to make it a more smooth motion. Fa. If you do this every day for a couple weeks, you'll get really good at it. It can be a little bit tricky when you start. So let's do like 10 to 15 reps of that. You don't need to go very high. Guys, you really don't need to go much higher than like a C or a D4, if that at all. Ladies or people with higher voices, you can go a little higher if you want to, because you probably started a little higher. But again, we're just waking up the voice. We're getting ready to make some of these sounds. Let's see if we can like follow that melody. Let's avoid words. Let's just do fa. Fa, 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 fa. Fa, 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 fa. Fa, 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 fa. Let's go in and out. Fa, 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 fa. Fa, 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 fa. Fa, 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 fa. What an unstable sound. And if I was just Mitchell trying to sound good, I would never sing that way. I would go fa, 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 fa. I'm gonna say that's probably technically more efficient than what Jonathan Davis is, but I would never, ever argue that it's more interesting than what he's doing. Remember, making music is about finding a way to express something inside of you. I will argue and say that I don't actually think it always needs to be like authentic in this way where you're using your true voice. I think there's a lot of different sounds we can make that are true, but he's choosing instability, okay? Whether it's naturally occurring or whether he's decided he wants the sound to be unstable, he's choosing instability. Okay, so we don't have a really robust sound here. It's a little bit on the thinner, tighter side. And this is probably because the type of distortion he is using has a little bit of grip on it. It has a little bit of closure, a little extra closure in the voice than we usually use when we sing. It's not right or wrong, it's just how he does it. Without that, we've got something takes a part of me. Let's think nasty. Something takes a part of me. My voice is a little bit raspy because I've been using it a lot today. Something takes a part of me. We don't need to be really loud. Something, just like we're talking. Whoa, hey, this happened to me. Something takes a part of me. Let's add our breathy to buzzy. Something takes a part of me. Oh, it's so unstable. His voice is free enough for vibrato. You just heard you and I were meant to be. We're gonna go over that distortion later, I promise, but for now, let's just lean into the push and the pull, the breathy to the buzzy, the clean to the distorted. I love how he's moving his body. He's thinking about trying to be in the music with his bandmates. That's a really, really good way to feel. If you are just standing there and you're singing, you're gonna create a lot of tension in your voice. And not only are you creating bodily tension, but you're creating tension for your spirit. I'm not gonna be super metaphysical about it, but I do believe that if our body and our heart and our mind and our soul is open and fluid, we're gonna have an easier time connecting our voice with our heart, our mind, and our soul. Something takes a part of me is better than something takes a part of me. Now, it is a little bit whiny, it's a little bit tight, but with that distortion, something takes a part of me, we're gonna be able to create a really, really exciting sound. Registration. I thought about not putting a registration section in this video because he doesn't sing crazy high, just to this E4. Now, I'm not saying that E4 isn't high, but I think a lot of people can get there even if they have to muscle it a little bit. I would not recommend muscling through anything when it comes to this genre. But that being said, there's nothing crazy high. So a lot of guy voices that are fully grown should be able to sing this. Even a lot of growing younger voices should be able to sing this. It might take a little work here and there, but I think it's pretty doable for a lot of people. So let's think about lightening up a chesty sound. I talk about mixed voice all the time. So you know what the heck? You can use mixed voice for this. I probably would, but for the sake of trying to keep this interesting, let's just talk about flow in the voice and airflow and how that has a direct correlation with singing more easily. And then let's talk about volume. I think volume is a great first place to start. He doesn't sing any higher than this. Whoa, something takes a part of me. Doesn't really sing any higher than that. And so, for this sake, I want to pay attention to his volume. First of all, he's not singing very loud. Let's take a look at this. Listen to how thin it is. Something takes a part of me. You and I. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. I'm just talking to you at this volume. And now I'm up here. It should, in theory, be that easy. Now, I understand that it's not always that easy. We have a lot of body parts that want to really, really help us get that sound out. And if you have a medium or a lower voice, you're probably accustomed to trying to bring all of that power up as you move up through the scale. So let's find ways that we can avoid that. First of all, let's just talk. Let's talk the pre-chorus.
Sometimes I cannot take this place.
Let's just say that. Sometimes I cannot take this place. I might have butchered that. Sometimes I cannot find him. I don't know all of the words yet, but it's okay. Follow along with me. This should be no louder than your normal speaking voice. To match Jonathan Davis's energy, let's bring it nice and forward. Angry dog face.
Oh, okay, I'm not getting near him. He's literally so mad.
Sometimes I cannot take this place. Whoa, it's nice and low. Sometimes I cannot take this place. And let's add some line to it. So let's glue everything together. Sometimes I cannot take this place. We're mimicking a little bit of a sing-songy effort here. Sometimes I cannot take this place. Sometimes it's my life I can't taste. I might have made up that melody. Let's hear what he does.
It's my life I can't take.
Close enough.
Sometimes I cannot feel my face.
Okay, if this is easy for you, you're ready to move on to the next step. If this is not easy for you, here's what I want you to try. We're gonna do this. Not just ooh. Now we're gonna go. If you're having a hard time with this, you can do this. All the sounds living right up here instead of down here. If you have a hard time doing this, it could mean a couple things, but one of the big things it could mean is that your airflow isn't coming out consistently. It could mean that you're used to sending up air in spurts instead of a consistent flow. And it also could mean that you aren't breathing at all. Maybe you're not taking any air in. So if you're having a hard time with this, inhale into your sternum. Again, you don't need to make any room. Don't go like, you don't have to do that. The air just goes in like a normal breath. And then, as if you're going, ooh. If this is something that you're having a hard time with, make this part of your daily practice. Until you feel like you can get a consistent lip trill. So we have, sometimes I cannot take this place. Awesome. You're ready to move on to the next part. Let's do it in a fifth. Whoa. Whoa. See if you can do this without getting louder. If you feel like the sound needs to go somewhere, instead of getting louder, think about it pulling back. Now, if this isn't working, you can imagine that you have a ball in your hand and you're just going to throw the ball. Sometimes that little bit of extra is just what you need to get things going. If you're having a hard time hitting this note still, it's likely that there's a lot of tension holding you back. Unless you have like a crazy deep voice, this isn't super, super high for a lot of people. It is still high. I'd consider it like the upper part of my mids, or definitely smack dab in the middle of my mids. And the mids are a tricky place because that's where the voice likes to change gears. And so I understand if this is hard. I highly recommend finding a teacher that can help you identify what your tension points are, or a teacher that can help you breathe or hit these notes a little bit more easily. So, something takes a part of me. You and I were meant to be a cheap beep for me to lay. Something takes a part of me. I want you to do this with me. We're going to glue it all together. We're going to create some fluidity in the phrase. Something takes a part of me. You and I were meant to be. Just like that. Once you have this in your voice, nice and easy, it's time to move on to the distortion. Let's take a look at these crazy parts of the song. I think these are really fun. If you've heard this song before, you know where I am going. Awesome. We have boom da da na naima da boom da da na naima boom da da na naima. Super fun. Like, who comes up with that? They're not even real words. We have that section, and then we have this section at the end.
So, boy, something I'm numbing about. Boy, something's a boy. So, something I'm numbing about. Boy, something's a boy. Boy.
That's also super cool. We can get away with all of this with a false chordy sound. Now, what I love about this song in particular is that the false chord technique, it is not this. It's not this crazy, like, metalcore, deathcore thing we're seeing a lot of today. There's no ghoul. There's no monster. There's nothing scary. In fact, the false chord sound is what I would consider pretty beginner by today's standards. I'm not saying that Jonathan Davis isn't good. He uses his voice differently in other songs, but in this song, the is really just a growl, like almost like a sigh even. It's not this crazy ow, ow sound that I have talked about in so many other videos. And the reason that I'm excited by this is because as we push for more and more crazy sounds, a lot of singers feel pressure to make these crazy, crazy sounds. I feel this myself. I am always wondering in my own projects whether or not I'm using distortion in a cool enough way or in an impressive enough way, even though this may have been a lot more impressive to be able to do 27 years ago. It's still impressive now, and it also sounds so cool because it has this voiced element to it. He's going from boom, da, da, boom, ooh. Those are two sounds that are not traditionally associated with each other. And in the fight something on the that thing, he's using the same distortion, but it's pitched when he goes, fight something on the that is less pitched, but he's using his voice in two contrasting ways. And so I think that it's okay to go back to the basics, and I think it's okay to still play around with sounds that are not as robust. I think it's really easy for people to think about distortion in a way where Fry sounds like Linkin Park only, and false chord sounds only like, I don't know, Will Ramos. They're both amazing singers. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but what I do want people to understand is, like, the basics of these distortions are badass. You don't need anything more crazy if the music is good and your heart is in it. So don't gatekeep yourself. Don't be afraid to make music with distortion in it, even if it isn't as good or as impressive as some of the distortion you hear online, because this rules. Like, people love Korn. It's a very, very popular band, and the distortion is pretty elementary. So as always, let's find our rumble. Mom. Now, instead of a intense we're not going to push. We're just going to try and make it as small as we can. You can do voiced or unvoiced. Or whatever's more comfy for you. See if we can get that rumble to be consistent. Ooh, ooh, nice and gentle. Or with no voice. what I love about this song is that he doesn't try to do any high screams. He has boom da da na na ima oh nam na never really goes higher than an F3. You may even be able to stumble into this sound just by going and then he does have the fight, but that's more of a different kind of pitch dominant sound. Something on the meow. It does go a little higher on the whoa. Something on the meow. But you could accomplish that sound with like a falsetto. On the meow. That's going to work just fine. If you're having a hard time getting here, what I want you to try is holding that note nice and loose, and then letting your voice fall apart. We just take away all of the effort. If your voice doesn't like to crack, that's okay. You don't have to think about this as making your voice crack. You can just think about taking away all of that airflow. Letting things be lazy. Fight. I'm just going fight. If you want an in-depth explanation of a false chordy sound, I have a course on this. It's pretty affordable. There are a ton of other great YouTubers and Instagrammers and TikTokers that talk about this as well. You could get a teacher that works on this, and you also could just look at more of my videos, because I have a ton of free videos on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube that talk about this specific technique. The reason I'm not going super in depth is because I've done it a lot and I don't want it to be redundant, but also I kind of just want you to live in this unrefined, imperfect false chord sound. So if we can go, ooh, ooh. Notice how the pitch changes when we go to a smaller shape. Ooh, boom da da, boom da da. Ooh. Now all we need is a little bit of falsetto. Ooh. It could be nice and light. It can be meteor. I don't really care what you do. This is a pretty low impact style of singing. Boom da da na na ima. So all we're doing is boom da da na na ima. Boom da da na na ima. And then if we want to put a little pep in our step once we've got this, boom da da na na ima. 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 I think he does change the pitches up a little bit, so just be wary of that. If you're having a hard time with this, just make sure you slow down and map it out. Boom. Boom, da, da, na, na, ima. And you can change the shape of your mouth. Boom, da, da, na, na, ima, ima, ima. All of that is just going to come from, If you want to have a little bit of pitch underneath, go for it. Now, with this higher one where he goes, fight! Let's listen to him do that live. Fight! Now he's not using falsetto, he's using a nice chesty or mixy sound. Find that, and just hold on to it. And let's see if we can give it a few flicks. Not, just, almost like you're clearing your throat. We have just a little bit of a remnant of that false chordy sound. You may feel a little bit of a closure in your voice, maybe a little bit of a grip. Kind of reminds me of Rick's voice from Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I'd like to get a 10-piece McNugget and a bunch of the Szechuan sauce.
A little higher. Now, if I lost you on that higher one, start lower and bring it up. Whoa! Oh! I think this is as close as we get to the actual note that he uses. Fight something on the meaboo. Does he go into like a falsetto-y thing there? I don't think so. I think he's again letting his false chord sound be a little bit lazy. Fight! Fight! Fight something on the meaboo. Yeah, just by going, fight something on the meaboo. Fight some things they fight. Now you could hear my voice got a little bit sloppy there. So going through this may take a few tries. Slow it down. Fight! Our grunt. Something on the meaboo. Fight! Some things they fight. That low note, all he's doing is some things they fight. Some things they fight. Okay, so we have our grunt into false chord, grunt into false chord, changing shapes. Fight something on the meaboo. Fight! Nope, I messed that up. Fight something on the meaboo. Fight some things they fight. Fight something off the yahoo. Fight some things they fight. It is a little bit hard to stay consistent with that fight. It's really easy to want to just push instead of fight. So the more you practice this, fight, 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 the easier time you're going to have with this. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video on Jonathan Davis in Korn with Freak on a Leash. If you want to keep up with me, follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm a little bit more active on Instagram, but I post like 5 to 6 times a week. I post lots of singing tutorials and other interesting singing content that you may be able to learn from. So feel free to come say hi there. As always, if you have things that you'd like to see next time or any feedback, feel free to include that. And with that, I'll talk to you soon.